Hey everybody, Comic Crack. Had a few books this week. I only picked up 4. I just wanted to have a few words on them. I did see that Twilight Children #2 was out and reminded me that I really should just read #1. So I just finished it, and I don't know. It was a little loose. Seemed a little sloppy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I wasn't blown away by it, and I'm trying to not let my. I've never really been Hernandez Brothers fan. I was never one that read Love and Rockets or anything by them. It just didn't appeal to me at the time. So I was a little hesitant because of that reason. I'm trying to step back from that a little bit, and I tried to, when I read this as well, not focus on the fact of my maybe not necessarily dislike, maybe is too strong a word, just it was never for me. I've tried to step away from that and just look at it as a book. But even Cook's art in this one was just okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. I wasn't blown away by it. So I'm gonna do a usual YouTube comic book guy thing is at $4.99. It's one of the reasons I didn't pick up the second one. I just don't know if I will. I'll wait a few issues and see what people say about it. I think it's going to be one of those kind of books. Because $4.99 is a little too pricey, and there's so much out there that I have to start cutting back. Period. That's going to be kind of one of my resolutions, is cut back on the weekly comics. Try to give myself a budget every week, whether I go or not. I was thinking kind of $25 a week-ish. The 4 books that I bought today came to 20 and some change, or 21 and some change, I think. So I think that's fairly reasonable, especially since I don't go every week. We'll see how that goes over the next month and a half here, see what comes out and try to keep track a little bit more. But so yeah, that one wasn't a big hit. Out of the 4 that I got, this was kind of in order of how I read them. I couldn't resist reading Velvet first, and it's getting at that time where I pretty much remember what's been going on, and I can follow the thread issue to issue, but I think it's almost time to kind of reread the whole thing in one go. This one was great though, introduces a new character, gets a little more into her head as far as we know that she knows that they know that, she's getting strung along a little bit, and she has this guy watching her every move and hopes they're not bringing her in because they want her to lead them to this other guy whose name just escaped me. But so she knows that that's what they're doing, and she's kind of playing them along as well, to feeding them just tidbits of information. And it has kind of a nice ending, a little bit of a cliffhanger ending as to next issue is going to be kind of well, who knows? Maybe it won't be an all-out brawl. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's always good. And I mean, Epting's art has been spoken about 1,000,001 times, but it's just incredible. It's a really, really good book. One of my favorites right now, hands down across the board. But out of this and Fade Out, Velvet edges out the Fade Out in my mind. Yeah, so there you go. Issue #4 of The Spire, where we kind of get to know a little bit more, a tiny bit more about some of the characters, seeing a little bit more development, seeing a little bit more of how our main characters kind of looked at, and kind of her kind, in loose quotes, are looked at by these people. So a little bit of a downer in that way, because she's not looked upon very highly, but the story keeps kind of trudging along, and this little character here, this messenger character, is playing a bigger role in this. Still really like it. the ending of this one, I love that the last page was incredible. And again, it's another book where it looks like next issue shit's really gonna hit the fan. Solid stuff. I really like it quite a bit. I'll be sad to see it finish. The ever questionable 8 House by a lot of people, and I think with this issue I'm on board with that one. There was parts of the story that I liked, but some of the extraneous stuff about these creators and kind of talking more about their time in animation and how coloring was giving one of them arthritis and only has so many years left, and here's a story that we did in 1998 or whatever year it was. Here's where you can find more information. It seems a little desperate, and I think that desperation of these creators is kind of spoiling the story for me a little bit. In the previous issue, it was interesting to hear a bit of their history as far as where they'd come from and what they'd done in animation, and this Zooniverse book that I've seen around in my comics digging throughout the years has kind of soiled the rest of the story for me. And this particular issue of the story itself wasn't necessarily, it wasn't weak, but it wasn't the strongest. I really like this front page being kind of the first panel of the book. There was parts of it that were interesting, but overall, I don't know, I'm not really as into this particular story arc as I have been the other ones. And on the Twitter today, there was word that Emma Rios's next issues, which is number 6 and 7, I think, or was it 7 and 8? I can't remember the issue numbers. Apparently have been delayed or possibly canceled, or not really sure. So we'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't go away though. And now onto the one that impressed me the most this week. It was this Monstrous. Man, that was a great read. I really got drawn into this story and read it with ease. The last page where Marjorie Liu, I think, was the one talking about it, where the ideas came from, and stories from her grandparents from the war, and kind of concentration camp type settings, and the idea of survivors and how they try not to become these monsters really added a depth to the story that I really appreciated. But even before that kind of last page, I was sucked into this world. Really, really great. The art is beautiful. It definitely, as people have said, has some manga type qualities, but I think very basic elements of that, because this is, to me, much richer in art than some of the manga can get. I'm kind of a hit and miss fan throughout my life of manga and anime. There's some series that have really appealed to me. Berserk being one of them, Cowboy Bebop being another one, Kenshin being another one. So some of the stories have really worked for me, and some of the manga have worked for me, like Uzumaki by Junta, I think it was Junta Ito, I believe. Black and White was another series. Bakun Young was another one, I think. There was some really good stuff out there, but those ones were really unique in visual representation, whereas a lot of the other manga, to my mind, was too similar to each other, where it didn't offer enough kind of an individual voice from a creator or an artist, because it all tended to look the same. But as I said, you can see that as a starting off point with some of the character design, especially in their faces. But this is so much more horrific at points, like just horrific. And especially looking back on the issue, once you've read that last page where maybe some of the ideas would have come from, even more so. Incredible though, definitely the biggest highlight of this week. It's the one issue that I did have. The comic is so thick, by the time I got to the center page, one of the center page ripped out of the staples, the bottom staple ripped through it, which is kind of a bummer. I tried to repair it, but I didn't do too much because it actually ripped through the whole thing. I thought maybe just portion of it had been ripped and I could kind of salvage it a little. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. $5 book, however many pages this has got to be, what, like 3 issues at least? Probably 4 issues long. Read really nicely though. Came together so nicely, left me with enough questions that I won't hesitate coming back to this book for sure. A real winner. If you haven't tried it out, I say spend the $4.99 and give it a shot. It's one of those no ads, full of story, and like I said, just beautiful art. Really, really nice stuff. So that was a hit for sure. And then finally, I've been going to a couple Value Villages and stuff lately and had some luck with some books. The first few are from this Hardcase Crime series of books. I've got a stack of them downstairs that I've bought through the years. Really good kind of crime books and private detective books, mostly kind of crime fiction. Some things that have, like this one is complete and unabridged, so kind of the full version of something that had been previously published. There's some books that they'll release where it's the first public time it's been published, period. There's some books, I know they have a couple of books from Stephen King, I believe, when he was writing under a different moniker. Yeah, they're great stuff. They're always entertaining. Some new paintings on the front by some great artists. So this is one called The Vengeful Virgin by Gil Brewer. I got one called Bust by Ken Brune and Jason Starr. And a third one called Songs of Innocence by Richard Elias. Some of the names, a lot of the names don't mean anything to me. There's a few names that do, but they are usually pretty great. And at Value Village, I think these cost me 99 cents a piece or $1.99 a piece, I think. They're not really expensive. They're $9 Canadian if you buy them new, and you can find them, I find them a lot in the bookstores too, but every time I go to a thrift shop, I always, since the spines are really easily recognizable, I always scan for any Hardcase Crime books and grab them whenever I see them. I got a few sci-fi books too. John Brunner, Entry to Elsewhere, which I just started reading yesterday. Really thin. I think this one cost me 99 cents. Some great art there. This one that sounded interesting as well, something called Herds from company Laser Books. I guess they had a series, so this is Laser Books number 2. And surprisingly enough, there was a Laser Books bookmark still in it, which is very cool, so held on to that as well. And then finally was this by Paul Anderson, The Dark Between the Stars. I think it's a series of short stories, from what I understand. Where the Universe Ends, the Horror Begins, first time in paperback, and I think this was another 99 center as well. Yeah, so excited about those. I have a bunch of time off coming, so that's why I grabbed some books. I also found, let me see, in really rough shape, but for Mr. Tom, I found the first Dungeons and Dragons. It's really, as you can see, it's really in rough shape. I'm going to be doing some repair to the box, trying to glue it back together. Very cool though. It looks like there's, this was, I think this was 85, this particular one. 83, this particular one was had come out. Everything is in it, the dice is in it, the books are in it, even some character sheets from the previous owner, and then it looks like there's a module in it as well too, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but Mr. Tom and his friends have been basically playing Dungeons and Dragons over the years without really knowing that they'd been playing it. They're creating stories and they have characters, and Mr. Tom does a lot of the storytelling. So this one was cheap enough. I think it was, yeah, $4.99. That regardless of the condition, I thought it might be nice to grab him for Christmas. So yeah, there you go. A couple of books, a couple of comics, and a game. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you.